Have you ever noticed that some people seem to become more powerful every time you stand against them? Every betrayal only sharpens them. Every confrontation leaves them with greater influence. And somehow, each battle costs you far more than you expected. But what if the real problem isn't your enemies? What if without realizing it, your own decisions are strengthening them? Machiavelli recognized a principle that most people never see. Your enemies rarely build their power alone. More often, they grow stronger because of the opportunities you unknowingly hand them. The dangerous part is that these choices rarely look like mistakes. They often feel wise, honest, or even necessary. In this video, you'll uncover the hidden habits that quietly increase your enemy's advantage, and more importantly, how to stop repeating them before they turn into irreversible damage. Once you recognize these patterns, you'll never think about conflict the same way again. But before we begin, do one simple thing. Write this affirmation in the comments: I protect my power by mastering my actions. Not because a sentence has magical power, but because every form of power begins with awareness. The moment you start recognizing your own patterns, you become far more difficult to manipulate. And stay with me until the end. Because the final mistake is the one intelligent people fall into most often. Ironically, it is also the mistake that creates the most dangerous enemies. Mistake number 1. Revealing your entire strategy. One of the biggest myths about strength is the belief that confidence means complete openness. Many people feel the need to explain everything they do. They reveal their intentions. They share every step of their plans. They announce goals before achieving them. They talk about their next move before making it. They seek approval by making their ambitions visible to everyone around them. What they fail to understand is simple. Every piece of information you reveal can eventually become a weapon in someone else's hands. Machiavelli understood that power depends just as much on what people cannot see as on what they can. The moment your opponent fully understands your intentions, you hand them something priceless: time. Time to prepare, time to adjust, time to anticipate your moves, and time to place obstacles in your path long before you ever take the first step. Human psychology is deeply influenced by uncertainty. When people cannot predict your next move, they become cautious. An opponent who cannot read your intentions is forced to spend time imagining possibilities, questioning every assumption, and preparing for scenarios that may never happen. That uncertainty drains focus before the conflict has even begun. But the moment your strategy is fully exposed, that advantage disappears. Your opponent no longer needs to speculate. Their energy shifts from guessing your intentions to dismantling them. Every resource can now be directed toward blocking your progress with precision. This is why many of the most effective people seem difficult to read. They don't reveal every thought they have, every goal they pursue, or every advantage they possess. They understand that silence is not weakness, it is leverage. The less your enemies understand about your position, the harder it becomes for them to interfere with it. Real power often develops in silence long before anyone realizes it exists. Mistake number 2. Trying to win every argument. Most people mistake victory for being right. They feel obligated to defend every opinion, answer every criticism, and respond to every challenge placed before them. On the surface, that looks like confidence. After all, who wants to appear weak, defeated, or incapable of defending themselves? But Machiavelli recognized a distinction most people miss. Being correct is not the same as being powerful. Many people become so consumed with proving themselves right that they lose sight of what they were actually trying to accomplish. They spend their time, energy, and attention fighting battles that offer no real advantage. Every argument demands a price. The more you engage with someone, the more importance you assign to them. Attention is one of the most valuable forms of power because it determines who gains visibility and who fades into the background. Every time you answer a critic, react to a rival, or entertain a provocateur, you increase their significance. You transform small opponents into credible adversaries. You hand them visibility they may never have earned on their own. In many situations, your reaction becomes more valuable than the original disagreement itself. From a psychological perspective, people rarely argue because they are searching for truth. More often, they argue because they are trying to trigger an emotional response. They are not looking for the truth. They are looking for your attention, your frustration, your time. The moment you allow your emotions to take over, they have already shaped your behavior. That is why truly powerful people do not respond to everything. They choose carefully what deserves their attention. They understand that silence can create more pressure than any act of retaliation. Walking away from a meaningless conflict often projects confidence, while constantly defending yourself can reveal insecurity. Strategic people are driven by results, not by pride. They understand that the objective is never to win every debate. The objective is to win where it truly matters. Sometimes the strongest decision is refusing to participate in a game that offers nothing in return. Mistake number 3. Underestimating small enemies. History repeatedly shows the same pattern. Powerful individuals are often brought down not by obvious rivals, but by opponents they once considered too insignificant to matter. One of the most dangerous assumptions you can make is believing that a threat is harmless simply because it appears small today. Machiavelli understood that power is never fixed. It is always changing. People evolve. Circumstances shift. Opportunities appear without warning. Someone who seems unimportant today can become a serious challenge tomorrow. Yet, human nature pushes us to focus on visible dangers while overlooking the quiet ones growing in the background. A jealous coworker, a resentful acquaintance, a competitor with little influence, someone who feels ignored or underestimated. Given enough time, they can accumulate knowledge, relationships, and opportunities that gradually change the balance of power. Because they appear weak in the beginning, they are often left alone. No one pays attention to them. No one considers them a priority. That false sense of security becomes the perfect environment for them to grow. While everyone remains focused on larger and more obvious threats, smaller enemies continue building strength without resistance. By the time their influence becomes visible, they may already possess everything they need to challenge you effectively. From a psychological standpoint, people naturally judge others by where they stand today, rather than by where they may stand tomorrow. This bias causes many to dismiss individuals who lack influence in the present, but possess patience, determination, and ambition. Some of the most dangerous opponents are not the ones who look powerful. They are the ones improving quietly while everyone else overlooks them. They study every setback. They observe every weakness. They wait without rushing, knowing that the right opportunity eventually arrives. This does not mean you should become suspicious of everyone around you. It means you should become more aware. Wise people understand that every major threat begins as a minor one. They judge an opponent not only by what that person is today, but also by what that person has the potential to become. By treating even small threats with respect, you deny them the time and freedom needed to grow into major problems. In strategy, preventing a problem is almost always easier than trying to eliminate it later. Mistake number 4. Letting emotions control your decisions. Many people believe intelligence alone is enough to protect them from failure. They assume that knowledge, experience, or ability will naturally lead them toward the right decisions whenever conflict arises. Yet some of history's greatest failures were never caused by a lack of intelligence. They were caused by a lack of emotional discipline. Machiavelli understood that emotions can become invisible restraints. They cloud judgment. They distort perception, and they quietly push people toward choices they later regret. Anger, pride, fear, jealousy, the desire for revenge. In the moment they feel like sources of strength. Over time they become liabilities that work against your own interests. An enemy does not always have to defeat you with greater strength or superior intelligence. Sometimes provoking a single emotional reaction is enough. The moment someone learns how your emotions work, they begin to understand how you work. If they know what sparks your anger, they know how to pull your attention away from what matters. If they know what feeds your pride, they know how to steer your decisions without you realizing it. If they know what you fear, they know exactly where to apply pressure. Every emotional reaction reveals something about you, and information is one of the most valuable forms of power. That is why strategic people avoid making important decisions while emotions are running high. Anger narrows your perspective. It encourages impulsive choices that feel satisfying now but become costly later. Fear magnifies danger and convinces you to hesitate when action is required. Pride persuades you to reject advice and overestimate your own judgment. Revenge shifts your attention away from meaningful objectives and toward temporary emotional relief. In every case, emotion stops supporting reason and begins replacing it. Real strength is not eliminating emotion altogether. It is refusing to let emotion take control. Calmness creates clarity. It allows you to observe without distortion. Recognize motives that others fail to notice and respond with intention instead of impulse. While everyone else is consumed by frustration, panic, or outrage, the person who remains composed gains a decisive advantage. They recognize opportunities emotional people cannot see. They avoid traps emotional people rush into without thinking. In the end, mastering yourself is often far more valuable than defeating any opponent, because the person who governs their own emotions becomes extraordinarily difficult for anyone else to manipulate. Mistake number 5. Seeking fairness in an unfair game. One of the hardest lessons life teaches is that not everyone lives by the same principles. Many people move through life believing that others value honesty, loyalty, gratitude, and fairness just as much as they do. They assume that treating people with integrity guarantees the same treatment in return. That belief can help build meaningful relationships with people who deserve your trust. But when it is applied without discernment, it becomes a serious weakness. Machiavelli studied human nature as it truly exists, not as people wished it existed. He recognized that many conflicts begin because people expect fairness from individuals driven primarily by self-interest. The danger begins the moment you confuse your personal values with reality. When you assume everyone is playing by the same rules, you lower your defenses. You begin overlooking warning signs. You excuse behavior that should concern you. You extend trust where caution would have served you better. Meanwhile, those driven only by personal gain are not bound by the standards you expect them to follow. They are playing an entirely different game, one where awareness matters far more than idealism. From a psychological perspective, people naturally interpret others through the lens of their own character. Honest people expect honesty. Loyal people assume loyalty will be returned. Ethical people believe others respect the same boundaries they do. That instinct feels natural, but it also creates one of the greatest blind spots. Betrayal becomes devastating because it exposes a truth many fail to accept. Different people are driven by different incentives. Often, the deepest disappointment does not come from what someone did. It comes from expecting them to be someone they never were. Understanding this does not mean becoming cynical, ruthless, or suspicious of everyone you meet. It simply means seeing people as they truly are. You can remain principled without becoming naive. You can be generous without making yourself easy to exploit. You can show kindness while still protecting your own interests. Real wisdom comes from balancing strong principles with clear perception. The strongest individuals never abandon their values. They simply refuse to let those values distort their understanding of reality. They recognize that fairness is admirable, but strategy begins by accepting the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. Mistake number 6. Showing every strength you possess. Many people believe power only exists when others can see it. They constantly feel the need to prove how intelligent they are, display every achievement, reveal influential connections, and demonstrate every ability they possess. They assume the more people recognize their strengths, the greater their influence will become. Machiavelli understood something far more subtle. Visible power attracts attention. Hidden power creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is often far more intimidating than open displays of strength. The moment people fully understand what you are capable of, they begin calculating how to neutralize you. They study your methods. They anticipate your next move. They prepare defenses specifically designed to counter your advantages. Ironically, revealing everything about yourself makes you easier to predict. Your strengths become measurable, and whatever can be measured can usually be challenged. An opponent who clearly understands your resources also understands your limitations. But an opponent who cannot accurately judge your true capabilities has no choice but to move carefully. Uncertainty forces caution where certainty encourages confidence. They understand that real influence is not measured by the number of opponents you defeat. It is measured by how consistently you accomplish your objectives. Machiavelli observed that wise leaders avoided creating unnecessary enemies because they understood the importance of preserving their resources. Every conflict demands something in return: time, attention, energy. Even a victory carries a cost. Every battle consumes resources that could have been invested in goals of far greater value. Strategic people choose their confrontations with care. They know when decisive action is necessary, when silence is more effective, and when walking away is the strongest move available. The highest form of strength is often not domination. It is restraint. It is the ability to resist the urge to prove yourself when no proof is needed. It is the discipline to protect your future instead of sacrificing it for a fleeting moment of validation. Ego demands victory in every encounter. Wisdom seeks lasting advantage. Those who understand the difference rarely find themselves surrounded by enemies they created through their own pride. Machiavelli's philosophy has long been misunderstood. Many people reduce his ideas to manipulation, ruthless ambition, or defeating others at any cost. But one of his greatest lessons was far more practical. It was about understanding consequences. He recognized that power is not lost only because of what enemies do. More often, it is weakened by the mistakes we make ourselves. Again and again, people create the very problems they later struggle to solve. They reveal too much before the time is right. They react before thinking. They dismiss small threats. They allow emotions to direct their decisions. They expect fairness from everyone. They expose every advantage they possess. Or they allow ego to create conflicts that never needed to exist. Every one of these mistakes is connected by the same weakness: a lack of awareness. Most people spend their lives watching what others are doing while failing to notice how they are weakening their own position. Yet genuine strength always begins with self-observation. The moment you recognize the patterns working against you, you gain the power to change them. Strategy begins long before any conflict appears. It is shaped by your daily habits, your routine decisions, and the way you respond to challenges before they become battles. And as we reach the end of this journey, remember one final truth that Machiavelli understood better than most. The greatest threats rarely stand openly in front of you. More often, they grow quietly through neglected habits, unconscious choices, and moments of weakness you never recognized. The enemy outside can certainly be dangerous, but the enemy within, impulsiveness, pride, naivety, and the inability to control yourself, is often far more destructive. Every lesson in this video points toward the same principle. Power begins with self-mastery. When you control what you reveal, master your emotions, choose your battles wisely, and see reality without illusion, you gain an advantage that no rival can easily take away. While others become trapped in endless conflict, you rise above it. While others react impulsively, you observe carefully. While others expose themselves through impatience and ego, you move with purpose, patience, and restraint. Competition will always exist. Ambition will always exist. Opposition will always exist. There will always be people who challenge you, question you, or seek to benefit at your expense. You cannot control what they choose to do, but you can always control how you respond. And more often than most people realize, that response determines whether an enemy grows stronger or remains powerless. So carry these lessons with you. Let them shape the way you think, the way you act, and the way you face every challenge ahead. Not so you can dominate other people, but so you can stop making the quiet mistakes that gradually undermine your own position. because the person who understands themselves becomes difficult to manipulate, difficult to provoke, and difficult to defeat. Before you leave, write this final affirmation in the comments: my greatest power is self-mastery. And never forget this. The person who has mastered their own mind has already won a battle that countless people spend an entire lifetime losing.